In order for your business or your brand to be successful, you need to know exactly who you are targeting and who is going to buy your product. But how do you do that from scratch? I am going to show you how to build your buyer persona completely from scratch, literally starting with nothing, for absolutely free and in a way that you can use forever and grow as your brand grows. Knowing your buyer persona is so key to growing your brand and getting sales. This should be the first thing you do when you are trying to grow your marketing or hit revenue. I'm Gina. I'm a marketing director from South London. I've spent 15 years building startups and small brands, and I'm here to show you how you can grow your brand and grow your marketing for completely free. I create tools and templates that you can use today for free. Just go to my website, and I give you all the techniques that it's taken me 15 years to learn. You don't need a big budget. You don't need a huge amount of time. You just need to focus on things that drive change. If you are new here, I also have a community. Head to my Podia, join the community for free. Ask me any questions you have. It's tough out there starting your own brand, starting your own business, or trying to build something for yourself, and I'm here to help you. I've done the hard yards, so you don't have to. So let's get into it. If you are trying to build your brand, or you are a small company, a startup, a scale-up, and you don't have your buyer personas, that is probably why you are not growing. This video is going to teach you step by step how you build your buyer persona from scratch. So where do you even start? Well, first you get my template because I've built this out for you. But even if you are looking at a completely blank slate, you start with top line assumptions. And these first assumptions are the types of people that could be your buyers. And when I say types, I mean vague. So vague, wide buckets. Think about types of people such as students, teachers, cyclists, professionals. Keep it vague based on your product or your service. Now, I've chosen 3 examples for the sake of speed and just to show you, but you can have a huge, long list, a giant list. And that's good because we're thinking vague. We're thinking about anybody in the world that could be our buyer based on our assumptions. And you start vague because you don't want to miss out on that perfect buyer. But what we need to do now is we need to narrow it down until we get a few buyer personas. And the way that we narrow down is with our next step. Now, this next step is where we apply our immovable aspects. So our immovable aspects as a brand are things like pricing, distribution, whether that's online or offline, type, whether you're a necessity or a luxury, and geography. What are your limitations around your geography? Depending on your product, you might have different immovable aspects, but your immovable aspects are things that are built into your product that you cannot change. When you're building out your buyer persona from scratch, you do not adapt to your buyers. What you do, especially if you are starting out, especially if you are young, especially if you don't have the budget, is you narrow down your buyers based on your current restrictions. A lot of brands get this wrong because they think that by finding the person who they think will buy and adapting to make them buy, they will be successful. But that is incorrect and it leads to a lot of wasted money and time. The only way to approach buyer personas is to look at what you are currently offering and find the person to which that fits. If you run this exercise and there is no buyer, you don't have a product. If you run this exercise and you have these 3 buyer personas, you know your product will add value to their lives already, and that's where you start your marketing. So let's dive back in. So adding our removable aspects should have cut those groups dramatically, maybe even half. And what we want to do now is layer on our USP to reduce this even further. You should have a USP as a brand. If not, I will do a video on it. If not, jump into my community, ask me how you do it. I've got a very simple step way to do it, and I've got a course, but you need to know your USP in order to understand that you are genuinely solving pain points, so these are the correct buyers. So adding your USP and layering it on top of your immovable aspect is asking these 2 questions of the remaining groups. What is this group's primary motivation? And what pain points or problems does my product or my service solve? By matching these 2 questions to your USP, you will have some standout groups. Narrow down even further. At this stage, you're looking for less than 6, really. If you've got more than 6, that's absolutely fine. We've got some more practices to narrow it down. But this exercise should be asking and answering the correct questions in which you're looking at which of these sections and which of these groups of people are perfect for your brand and product. And the next layer in which we use to narrow this down is that we stop thinking about our product and we start looking into the demographics of the sections. So this formula of approaching your buyer persona is really important because you're putting your brand and your product first, and then you're looking into the sectors. Not only does this save you time, effort, energy, and money, it also means that you're getting the correct buyer persona. Where a lot of people who are doing this by themselves or just starting out fail is that they start looking at their audience and doing their buyer personas by understanding the sectors and the people in those audiences. And by looking at their demographics, there's sometimes a bit of excitement around knowing that they've got the most money, knowing they're most applicable, and then again, trying to build a business around getting them rather than understanding which sectors, which groups do I actually provide value for, and then looking at their demographics. It's very easy to get sidetracked thinking that someone is a great buyer persona for you by looking at their attributes, but you need to look at your brand attributes first to understand that you are genuinely driving value and you can talk to these people, otherwise it's not going to work. So we've looked at those vague assumptions, we've narrowed it down based on our brand and what we're doing, and now it goes into those groups and we look at what they are and how they layer onto our brand. So from your 6 or maybe 8, as few as possible groups, you now want to look at their key demographics. You want to look at their geography, their buying power, their age range, whether they live online or offline. You want to look at their basic demographics that make up what that group of people tend to be. Things like their comms channels, their buying channels, and any additional pain points. From this, you will find that you will align more with certain groups based on geographies, pain points, buying behavior, and comms channels. You will have about 3 standout winners of specific groups of people. By running this exercise of understanding their demographics, their additional pain points, their comms channels, and their buying behavior, you will be able to map this to your own. This part of the exercise is almost that light bulb moment where you will go into these assumptive groups and you will realize that they are a group of people who have additional pain points that you can solve outside of your USP, who communicate in the same way that you do, who will understand your value and will understand who you are as a brand. And you will get to about 3 distinct different groups of types of people. From these 3 groups, you want to have a single buyer persona in each to start with. Remember, this is for people who are starting from scratch, starting from nothing. You want to make sure that you are not just going, I am targeting all cyclists that live in London. You are targeting Alex, the commuter from Peckham. You are building a persona that is an actual human person. Now, I've created this template so you can build out this person, but it's so important to have a person and a personality behind it. Your buyer persona is not just a group, it is one individual that you are talking to. And this is so important because all of your marketing and your messaging needs to talk directly to this fictional but very, very replicable buyer, this person. So fill in this template of who this person is. How old are they? Where do they live? What do they do as a job? What is their income? What do they spend their day doing? How do they spend a day? The more in detail you can get, the easier it is for you to understand if all of our assumptions building into this detail are correct. So just to recap, we go from big, vague assumptions of groups. We then layer on our immovable aspects. After that, we ask ourselves 2 questions that form our USP layering onto those immovable aspects. Then we go from knowing about our brand and thinking about our brand to thinking about our buyers, and we look at their demographics, their pain points, and match them to ours, our comms channels, our values. And then from that, we take our groups and we create a person using this Notion template. Super simple, so easy. I've done the work. But let's very quickly run through an example because I know it's sometimes easier to see how someone else does this. So let's start as that athleisure brand. I create the assumptions and I brainstorm the types. So I have got students, teachers, yoga instructors, gym goers, cyclists, children, adults, whole heap of anybody could wear my athleisure. I've got a vast amount of them. I then narrow it down by my immovable aspects of my brand. My pricing is going to be premium and high quality, so I can get rid of the kids, I can get rid of the students. My distribution is going to be purely online, but restricted by certain shipping. So I get rid of people outside of areas that my e-com will ship to. My type is going to be luxury over necessity. So that gets rid of people who are the more serious athletes. It's more of an athleisure wear versus a performance wear. My brand is also going to cater for more size ranges. So it's going to be focused on how we can be comfortable for everybody rather than niching down into one type of body size. So next I apply my USP. My USP is it's sustainable, it's high quality, and it's for everybody for every day. So I ask myself, from my big audience, what are their primary motivations and what pain points or problems do I solve? So when I look at this, I will understand certain athletes would not be interested in my product. Certain professionals would not be interested in my product. People with a certain spend demographic would not be interested in elevating themselves to my product. This narrows it down to people like fitness influencers, yoga teachers, busy professionals who have a higher spending power. And when I think about what pain point that solves for them, my brand works because it's got the story of the sustainability, it's transitional, so you don't have to wear it just in the gym. It's sustainable and flexible, so you can use it for a multitude of sports, and you can use it for a multitude of body types. And it's trendy, and it aligns with eco messaging for influencers specifically. So when I've applied these filters, my core audience is actually mid to high earning, busy professionals, fitness influencers, and yoga instructors. And from this, I will build out buyer personas. So my buyer persona is Cassie, the yoga instructor. She is 32 years old. She lives in London. She has a mid-range income, but her profession is based on her ethics of sustainability and eco-friendly. She wants to have transitional pieces that move through her day as she's teaching multiple classes. She also wants to look good all of the time, and she wants to be able to show herself on social media as well. Her comms channels are things like Instagram, things like TikTok. She also has a lot of influence around the people in her class, so it's important for her to show that she is well put together and is someone aspirational in her daily classes. The pain points I solve for her is that I make her stand out as being sustainable and fashionable, whilst also being hugely practical, but something to aspire towards. So hopefully that example has helped you understand how we go from vague assumptions all the way to a buyer persona. But it doesn't end there. With this template I've built you can create these initial buyer personas, and then you can test your messaging and see what works. And you can add notes into these buyer personas and learn as you grow. But trust me, if you don't have your buyer personas and you are trying to sell or build or create anything, you are wasting your time, effort, and energy, because when you try and speak to too many people, you end up speaking to no people. I hope you found this helpful. Don't forget to go and grab my template. Please do join the community on Podia. Please do ask me any questions. I'm here to help you so you don't have to go through the 15 years of learning that I did. Please do like, subscribe, and I'll speak to you next week.